Welcome to Rewild by Design, a podcast for women in midlife who are ready to burn the rule book, drop the good girl mask, and come home to who they really are. I'm your host, Marissa, a human design and Gene Keys mentor, and your guide in this wild woman era. Get ready for bold conversations, raw truths, and the kind of insights that'll shake you awake. Because midlife isn't the end of your story. It's the point where you finally get to write it your way. Welcome to the very first episode of Rewild by Design. My name's Marissa, and I am so glad you're here. You know what? A podcast has been on my heart for, I want to say, going on 10 years. And it's taken a lot of inner work for me to get to this point where I felt comfortable enough with my own voice and in my own skin to share musings on midlife and just the things that have helped me along the way. So if you're here and you're listening, you're probably a lot like me, right? You've lived a lot of your life for everybody else. Maybe you've checked all the boxes. You've done exactly what you were supposed to and what you were told to do, like build the career, go get those degrees, raise your family, hold it all together, all while staying hydrated. But on the outside, right, it looks like you've got it all figured it out, this big, beautiful, polished life. But inside, there's this constant voice, and maybe it's getting a little bit louder and louder, that something's missing. And you've ignored it for a long time. But that part of you isn't going to continue to be silenced. And that's exactly why this podcast exists. You know, because I know what it feels like to wake up one day, look in the mirror, and not even recognize yourself. To feel like life somehow has gotten smaller, even though you did everything right. So a little bit of a backstory here. For most of my life, I played the good girl role, right? I kept the peace. I followed the rules. And I tried to be everything for everybody else. And I lost myself in that process. I went to school. I was a straight A student. Yep, I was that band nerd too. And I got 2 college degrees, not 1, 2. Overachiever here. I started the family. I climbed the corporate ladder until that ladder was pulled out from under me. And that's a story for another day. But, you know, on paper, it looked like I was fine. And I was told, wow, you have this great life. And yes, it can be great. But inside, I felt like I was disappearing. I didn't even know who I was anymore. And my breaking point came when I realized I wasn't actually living my life for me. I was just acting it out. I was showing up, doing the motions. And I've done a lot of inner work to try to figure it out. You know, I went to therapy, I meditated, I did movement. And none of that seemed to really get to the root of what was happening. And that was until human design and the Gene Keys found me. And I want to say it wasn't like this sudden epiphany moment where the heavens parted and the angels sang. It was literally like this exhale, this small light switch that turned on. And now these systems didn't give me all the answers right away, because they actually, instead, they just gave me, human design gave me the map, and the Gene Keys gave me the frequencies where I was operating. And finally, I had permission, self-permission, to question all of the rules I'd been living by. And, it didn't come all in one giant wave, like I said. It was slow steps over and over again, building back that self trust. And when I talk about rewilding, and you'll hear it a lot on this podcast and in my work and on my socials, rewilding to me isn't running around barefoot through the woods, although honestly, that sounds amazing sometimes too. But rewilding is remembering. It's about peeling back all the layers of expectations and roles and masks so you can finally meet the woman who's been underneath it all. And I'm not talking about throwing your whole life away, just burning it all to the ground. This isn't about starting over from scratch. This is about reclaiming the parts of you that got buried so you could survive. And to me, midlife isn't a crisis. This is an initiation. This is a second season. And the season of life where you finally get to ask, what the hell do I actually want? And be brave enough to answer that question. Now, let's name some of the things that come up in this season, in midlife. The resentment. Number one, that resentment that builds up when you've given so much of yourself to everyone else and it feels like there's nothing left for you. How about the guilt for wanting more when you already have it good? Or the tension in your relationships when you finally stop shrinking just to keep the peace? And how about those questions that keep you up at night, besides the hot flashes? Is this all there is? Is it too late for me? And if any of that sounds familiar, I want you to know you're not alone on some island here. We're in this together because those feelings and that restlessness is finally your soul speaking up loud enough so that you can listen. And, I'm not here to give you some quick formula or another box to just shove yourself into because, we've all had enough of those in our lives. What I want to offer are tools that actually honor your individuality. And for me, in particular, that is human design and the gene keys. Because human design shows you the map and the energetics and the mechanics of how your energy naturally works. And then the gene keys, another layer on top of that, are the frequencies. And they show you the deeper patterns and the shadows and the gifts in your life. Now, together, these systems don't try to fix you. Okay? They help you see yourself more clearly and build that inner self-trust. And when you start beginning to live in the way that your design, your soul chose this design, burnout stops being the norm. Your relationships shift and your choices feel lighter. And you stop pouring energy into the rules that were never yours to begin with. Okay? So this one's a short one. Normally, my sweet spot is, 15 to 20 minutes. I like quick podcasts here. So as we kick off this first season of Rewild by Design, I want to leave you with this. Think about one rule you've been living by that doesn't actually feel like yours. Maybe it's the idea that you have to work harder to be worthy. Maybe it's the belief that good mothers sacrifice everything. Or maybe it's the pressure to stay in a career that drains you because it's the responsible thing to do. Write it down, whatever it is. Or speak it into your voice notes. Say it out loud. Let's name it here. And that's the first step in rewilding. Noticing the cages you've been living in so you can finally break free from. And now, if you're curious about how your energy type, your human design energy type, was designed to work, I've created a free energy snapshot audio that breaks it down and personalizes it just to your human design type. This is a short, simple, easy audio, and it'll give you practical shifts you can start making right now. You can grab it in the show notes. I will link it in there. And if you have questions, feel free to reach out. Let's share this podcast with other women who are going through this season, and let's uplift each other. And I can't wait to see you next time. Well, that's it for this episode of Rewild by Design. I trust that you got what you needed here today. And just remember, you don't need another checklist. You need your own voice back. So go out, live a little louder, a little freer, and a hell of a lot more like yourself. And I'll see you next time.